Once upon a time, Annie was frozen by her anxiety. She could hardly move or see joy anywhere, until one day she realized her own thoughts could thaw her from the inside. Annie began using her thoughts more and more each day until she warmed up. Then she discovered she was living in a beautiful enchanted forest, which she can now fully experience. This is Annie's manifesting success story. Hello, and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and back for another chapter in her manifesting success story is Annie. Welcome, Annie.
Hi, Cassie.
Hi, I am so excited to talk to you today for so many reasons. Let's start. We're recording this April 19th, 2022. Let's start there. Annie is about 3 years and 3 months, or 3 years and a third into her manifesting journey in the Enchanted Circle. So with that said, Annie, what is your manifested total?
It is $431,459.08.
Yay! How does that feel?
Feels great.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
I just did my taxes for last year. Should I add my income to it? I know I add new clients to it when I get it.
Yeah.
But I did not add my income.
Oh, so I think this is a great question. And I was inspired before to add up a number. So I would add it because it's all, so in my mind, and you get to choose this, right? And you get to tell us kind of what your story is and what feels good. But when you started, you were making $40,000 a year, right?
Yeah. I was.
Yeah. And so anything above that, I would count because you're creating that. And it's when we count it, we're taking that responsibility for like, I created this. I have this much more income. I have this much more in my life.
Okay. That makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. And someday, whether it's today or someday, I have added up, based on what you make now and what you make then, like if you worked for the next 20 years, that total. So at some point when you're ready, we'll kind of look at that big number.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's amazing. I love it. Speaking of taxes, how did it feel to have done your taxes?
Absolutely liberating.
Yay! And all of your taxes are caught up, right?
Yes. I know we've talked about this in the past, but a few months ago, I caught everything. I had not done my taxes since I went into private practice, and I was in over my head. And I got a lot of really good help from an accountant and a billing person, and I was done with my taxes before the 15th, and I didn't have to file an extension, and it was all completed, and it feels so good.
Yay! That's amazing.
For the year we just completed.
Yes.
It feels really wonderful.
I bet. Yes. And I love that. And thank you for sharing that for listeners, because I know it's interesting. My sister has even had some class. She goes, my clients all think they're going to go to jail for not paying their taxes. She just happened to have, I think, because it's tax season. Yeah. And, so it's not, I think it's common when we're in business. It's common just sometimes something happens, whatever that thing is, and taxes can become this big thing that doesn't get paid because you can't catch up without catching up. You can't just start wherever you are, right? You have to go backwards. And so thank you for sharing that story. And if you're out there and you have some taxes to be done, just know that you can do them and you're not alone. It happens all the time.
I had built this fearscape about my taxes, and it was terrifying, the story I was telling, and it was completely not true. And so as soon as I called a good accountant and one that doesn't shame you, because there are accountants that shame you. Get someone that is kind and understands that not everyone is an accountant. And so it was just incredibly helpful.
Yay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Of course, you attracted an accountant who is kind and not shameful.
And yeah, I've given her name to all of my friends that are in private practice, because they were all in the same boat and no one was talking about it because everyone felt so shamed about it. And when I started talking, started talking to some of my colleagues about it, and they're like, I haven't done it in 6 years. I'm like, here's her name, here's her number. It is a life changing. And they've all been telling me, oh my gosh, I'm on track. I feel so good. And yeah.
Yay. What a great example of how when you change your money story, it impacts everyone else, right? You have the courage and do that. It just shifts everything. So awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you want to share your biggest aha in manifesting and using the law of attraction that you just had?
Yes. And I think at this point in my process, I don't know if it's a aha. Let me know if it's an aha. But I need a lot less validation. In the beginning of the process, I really needed validation, and like I needed to be seen, I think, and have other people encourage me, have you encourage me.
Yeah.
And now I am seeing myself, and I am feeling like I'm validating myself, and it's like recognizing my intuition and honoring the kind of the wisdom and the guidance I have. And not that I don't like sharing it with people, but I don't need it. It's like it's not filling me up. Like, I mean, it's great, but
Yes.
but it's not, yeah, I don't need to tell my story as much. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It totally makes sense. And I I get it. In the beginning, we come from a place generally when people start the program, they're not validating themselves. They haven't likely been validated by sort of their circle in a while. Whether that's because they just haven't attracted a circle to be like supportive and validating, or that's just who they've always been, whatever it is. And so when you come and you start growing, that is what fuels us in a way, part of the way, and keeps us going, right? Is understanding. And I think you hit one of the biggest things, which is being seen. And when we're not seeing ourselves, we do need that. We need someone else to reflect that back and hold the mirror until like we can just have the mirror on its own, right? It's almost like, someone has to hold up the mirror in front of you, but then when you get to that point, they can just set it down because you can see yourself. You can do a lot of this work, and when it feels good, you can come share, but you share because it feels good, not because you need to.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. Yay. Yeah. And I do think that's an aha. I think it's an aha of how far you've come, and also an aha of how important that is, right? To see ourselves, to encourage ourselves so that we can create more of what we want and keep creating more of what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right. What's the coolest piece of evidence that you've seen since our last interview? I know it involves a cabin.
Oh, yes. We went to Estes Park, and my boyfriend rented a cabin, and it was wonderful, and it was a lot of things out of my script, like the iron. It was built in the early 1900s, and the had these lamps, and the iron work was just like the ones at the Peaceful Valley, Paradise Valley, that I can never remember the name of. And there were just little things in that cabin that were at the retreat that we went on, and just it was really kind of surreal about that.
That's amazing. I love that. Awesome. Um, what about inspiration? What inspirations have popped up, or have you taken inspired action in the last few months?
Yes. Yes, I have. And Leo's 20th birthday just last week. And he was planning parties. And then I just had the idea that to take him to Missouri. And I just thought, oh, I'll just see how much tickets are. And and it was incredibly easy. Just, you know how sometimes when you plan a trip, it clicks like that. And found perfect plane tickets. And then I've been putting everything on credit cards and then paying it off every month.
Mhm.
That's just a new habit to build my credit score because I've been working on building my credit score. And I had almost one whole ticket paid for, you can use your rewards points
Mhm.
and just doing that. So that was really exciting.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. Amazing. And you were inspired to look at subscriptions and cancel some stuff and create some money as well, right?
Oh, yes. I should have the thing I typed in front of me.
That's okay.
Yes. I, yeah, yesterday something told me just to look at my Apple subscriptions and I went through and there were several that were getting ready to renew for the year that I'm just not using that much anymore. I had bought Babbel before we went to Mexico and to learn Spanish and I didn't. But there are just a few things so I canceled that and it was over $500.
Yay,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
That's good.
Um, so recently when you were with your dad, how did you see your future self show up?
Um, And I'm guessing in earlier recordings I've talked about this because we all have stuff with our parents, but my trips home have been wonderful now, and I was reminded that nothing at home has changed.
Mm.
My dad really overreacted to something and had huge emotional meltdown and wasn't very nice to me. And I just didn't react. I knew he was tired. I knew he was hurting. I knew what was making him say the words he was saying. And I just, I had emotions, but it didn't send me back into my 15-year-old self like it was doing before. Like I felt the feelings and then and removed myself from the situation. And the next day we approached it because he kind of lashed out and was cussing at me. And I didn't own it. I didn't feel it didn't ruin my trip. It wasn't the big thing that happened. We had a nice trip, and then I just was my future self about it. Yeah, I could just see it in a much different way than 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I would have, I think I did, talking to you guys on a call. I
Yes.
can't come here, and I want relationships with my family. And it's okay. My dad's human, and it worked out just fine.
That's
But I
amazing.
held this peace and confidence, and I didn't yell back at him. I didn't join him in that because that's not how I am. And and I was just reminded that he hasn't changed, but I have.
Yes, you have. Well, and I think that reminder, like he hasn't changed. I really think that one of the biggest things that we can do for growth is assume no one else is going to change. Like it's always not like it's heavy on us, but like we get to create what we want and it's on us to become different and we should just assume that they aren't going to change. And sometimes they do and it's awesome. But if we go into it like I get to create what I want and they're not going to change and I'm going to create what I want anyway, I think it's just an easier path.
Yeah. And it felt good. When he came and apologized to me, I didn't have to apologize back to about like I didn't join him and say hurtful, mean things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that felt good. But I don't know if that he did have to apologize, and he did. But I'm just teasing a little bit. But I was able to just kind of hold space, and his pain body was up, and I didn't have to cause more pain. I could just say, yeah, we can. Let's start over. Let's try this differently.
Hmm. And that's such a magic place to be, right? When you're not, oh, I don't need to, I didn't say anything, I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
I think that's a pretty great manifestation, but what else have you manifested in the last 3 months?
On kind of a similar note, my relationship with my mom has come so far. We had such a wonderful vacation at her house, and it felt like a vacation. Before it felt like, oh, I'm going home. But I think because we bought plane tickets and it felt like a vacation, and she and I had a wonderful time. And that's been a big thing I was wanting to manifest, a good relationship with my mom. And that feels so good. And
Yay.
yes, yeah. Do you remember that call when I was at my parents' house and I called and I'm like, I can't
Yes,
ever come here again.
I do. Like, I'm just not going to do it.
I'm gonna have to get a hotel.
Yes.
And it was just so full of peace. Most of the most of the vacation was just peace, and it was so nice. And I'm so grateful for the time I had with my family. So
Yay. That's amazing.
yeah. And I got engaged.
Yay.
So that's exciting.
Congratulations. Oh, that is
Thank you.
exciting.
Yeah.
Like, tell us the story.
Well, Todd rented a cabin in Estes. I keep like touching my face. I don't know if it's
Yeah, so if you are on video, you can see the ring. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. And he completely surprised me. I went to Estes, and he rented a cabin, and it was really nice, nestled in the trees. And it was funny because I usually am a big hiker and I love to hike, but it was a little cooler and I wanted to build a fire and get all cozy, but he wanted to go on a hike. And I was like, not understanding why he wanted to go on this hike. So I was like 20 feet behind him on this hike. But then, it was beautiful. There were birds, and I got into the hiking spirit. And then when I was sitting and meditating on a rock, and he came and knelt in front of me, and it was really very, very sweet. And yes.
Yay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And tell us about the ring and like the significance and how it's tied into like what you've created.
Yeah, it has. So about a year ago, we were talking about rings, and I told him I like sapphires, and it has a nice meaning. Sapphires are about trust, and it's a really good relationship stone. And then the infinity sign has always been a symbol that's important to me. And in the beginning of the Enchanted Circle, it was one of those symbols that I looked for to know that I was going on the right kind of the track I wanted to be on. And so the ring has infinity signs. And then I have it has 3 little diamonds on each side, but he has 2 boys and I have a boy. So it's just really meaningful. It represents that kind of the family we're creating. And yeah.
That's amazing. For listener, like, is this, I'm just going to ask it this way. Has love always been easy for you?
um, for me, love, like caring and nurturing for other people, has always been really easy for me.
Mhm.
But allowing someone to love and nurture me has not always been easy. And yeah.
Awesome. Yay. I love that.
Yeah, the
Go ahead.
relationship workshop that we did, we wrote the little story, and
Mhm.
that was important. And well, just all of it was important. It was a really good workshop. Yeah.
Yeah, that story was important. And you really, I don't remember why, but you scripted the ones, like one of your relationship scripts a lot, and really, which the more we script a script, the more we get to the deeper we live the script, like inside of writing that script, right? Because if you write it once, it's like, oh, this is great. But when you do it over and over and you're living in that day over and over, you really start to become on a whole new level.
It helps you sink into those positive feelings. One surprise for me is I feel like we all want to be happy and in healthy, happy relationships. But I was kind of uncomfortable in good feelings, like getting money. And like I had to do a lot of work where it to get comfortable, like expanding into abundance of love, abundance of money. And I even felt myself starting to not leave in a like disassociation
Mhm.
fix, but get out of the feelings because it was so good. And then I was like, I'm worthy of this. I'm worthy of happiness. I'm worthy of abundance. I'm worthy of loads of money in my bank account. I'm worthy of making $150,000 a year. I'm worthy of, and it really for me has gone to self-worth.
Mhm.
And I was in the cabin and I felt this when we were in Arizona too. Um, like because it felt so good feeling uncomfortable and starting to be like and and then I was like settle in here, feel this happiness.
Yes.
I watch the fire and I feel happy, like I hear this fire crackling, I feel happy, just like the scripting really does help it settle into like that muscle memory in our
Mhm.
bodies and our minds, and yeah, really helpful.
Yes, absolutely. And to your point, it is so interesting. We do assume everybody wants a happy, loving relationship, but it's the comfortable or the uncomfortable in that, right? And a lot of people, for whatever reason, and the reason doesn't matter, but aren't comfortable in that. I'm surprised, but always never surprised, like when I see someone new. And like there was recently someone who went through the scripting workshop, and I can see it, like I can see how, not in a bad way, but it's very surface touching on that depth of this super happy relationship that's the desire. But even in the experience, in the beginning of scripting, it's sort of surface until you get into it, and you have to get used to having like, okay, this much happiness, and then you can go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Hmm.
Yeah, very cool. Yay, so excited for you. And in other good, amazing stuff is your son Leo's independence. So tell us about all that. It's a co-creation between you and him, I think,
Yeah.
and you've done a fair amount of your own work to co-create that experience.
Yeah. He is like he rides the bus home with a friend now once a week and goes to their house. And he's like his friends are texting me. He has a phone or they'll either text him or me and say, "Hey, can Leo do this?" And he went dancing with some friends while I was in Estes, and like they went to a just a place and danced all night, and he just had a blast. And so becoming he's having the opportunity to be himself with me not around, taking care of him
Mhm.
all the time, which
Yes.
is, I guess, every parent's dream. But yeah, and so that's really good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I might be putting you on the spot, but what did you have to do to open up this space for his independence? And do might not be the exact right word, because it might be more like thinking or being open or.
I think it's a combination of kind of acknowledging that what level he needed, and then getting an image of him where he wants to be independent, and so getting that image of him, and then kind of weaving that into my scripts of him being independent. And it was a little more of the holding that picture and not just saying, oh, you can't do that, you have this disability or you have that disability, and being able to, I started reading stories about people with disabilities that there's that Love on the Spectrum, there's different, that Netflix series about people in relationships, and like kind of suspending my, I had put some limitations on him that I didn't realize I had because of what I thought being a good parent to a child with disabilities are. And so letting those drift off, and then me back off a little bit. And yeah, and so he's been doing job training with the program, and yeah, I think we're finding our way with that.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Yay. I love that. And I have loved watching that story unfold so much for both of you. Like getting to hear you went dancing, seeing him on a date, like hearing that he's hanging out with his friends, and you're having this life that at one point I think you were like, okay, I'll ask for that, but I don't necessarily believe that. And I now think you really, like, you stayed the course and you put yourself in the position, both scripting and stepping in, where that could become a little more of a reality and a little more of a reality. And now it's a beautiful reality.
Yeah, I think seeing myself, I started working with you about money, and that was like my focal point. And then I think seeing it change that much, I thought, whoa, I could do this with these things. Like, this is the story. So that those exercises of what story are you telling? And so now when I see something popping up that I don't want, I think, oh, what story am I telling here? Ah, and then I can change it. And you can do that with any stories. Yeah, relationships, your children, like, yeah.
Yeah, all of them. Ah,
Yeah.
I love that. This has been such a beautiful, wonderful interview. Is there anything else on your heart or your mind that you want to share today?
I don't think so. Just thank you so much. Thanks for creating this program. It's really helped me so incredibly much. So I really do appreciate it.
You are welcome. And thank you for sharing this story and this journey with us and letting everyone else see what's possible when you invest in yourself for the long term. So I appreciate that.
It feels good to have dedicated to a program and really done it for over 3 years. And then you see it just keeps, like planting seeds, it just keeps blossoming and making fruit. So
Yay. Yes.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you all for listening. Make sure to come back and check out what else is awesome in Annie's life next time.
Thank you for joining us today. If you are inspired and you're ready to start writing a new money story, a new life story, to really pick the pin up and design your happy ever after, go to enchantedlifeu.com. That's enchantedlifeu.com to get started. For any links that we talked about in the show, you can find the show notes at manifestingsuccessstories.com.